Hi, friends, and happy June. Happy summer. I hope everyone's enjoying their summer so far and that you are taking care of your health, drinking lots of water. This past week, I have released an article about cortisol, which I love talking about. And I figured I'd just start from the start with what cortisol actually is. And it was kind of fun to write about it from, like a beginner level stance so that you can really truly understand from the very beginning. If you haven't been following me from the very beginning, I've done talks on cortisol. I've posted about cortisol. I'm always talking about cortisol, but it's so good to start from the beginning, explain what cortisol actually is. Couple quick housekeeping updates. I have officially launched my website. It is theholistichealthengineer.com. And you can find so many things on there. You can find my PMS framework, which if you're not sure what that is, do not worry about it because I'm going to be posting an article and a video pretty soon about the PMS framework. Um, Quite honestly, I've been a little behind on posting recently and sharing resources because my phone broke. It sucks, but at the same time, I'm trying to really fully embrace this moment. Funny enough, I was thinking about getting rid of a lot of applications and distractors on my phone a couple days before it broke. And I was like, I think it's time to lock in, and just get rid of a lot of applications that distract me, a lot of social media that distracts me. I was thinking about keeping my business Instagram, but getting rid of my personal Instagram. And that thought really crossed my mind for a good day. And then I was like, no, how am I going to keep in contact with my friends? Like, I'm abroad right now. I obviously want to see them and keep up to date with them. And then I also convince myself that I have self control and that I don't need to get rid of those things because I can lock in regardless. And funny enough, a couple days later, I'm walking out of the house. I was using my phone for something. And then I was walking out of the house and I looked down and all of a sudden my screen's black. And I was like, what the heck? Maybe you know, I had too many things open at once. Maybe it froze, something like that. I was in a little bit of a rush. I kind of needed my navigation to get around, but I was like, whatever, I'll figure it out. It'll unfreeze, it'll be fine. I'm just gonna go. Another thing is, if you haven't been following my Instagram, I'm currently in Poland, meaning I have no car. We're kind of in the middle of nowhere, so I've been biking everywhere. I'm biking about, quite honestly, it's been on average like 15 miles a day. And it's so hot here too, which is crazy. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'm getting so much movement in, which I kind of love. I've just been getting around like that. I've been using my navigation on my phone, and it's been fine. That day, I was like, "I'll be fine. It'll unfreeze. Be able to use my navigation later in a couple hours, whatever." I went to church. My phone still wasn't turning on, and I ended up coming home hours later. Somehow, I did not get lost, and my phone did not turn on. And then 24 hours later, I was like, "I think it's time to take it to a repair shop." And I did, and he quoted me like twice as much as what it costs in America to get it fixed, which doesn't make sense for me to fix my phone because as soon as I get back to America, I can just trade in my phone for a completely new one for just a tiny little bit more. And so I'm like, it just does not make sense for me to pay all this money just to get a new phone in a month anyway, since I'm due regardless. So, yeah, I've been phoneless for a week now. I think I'll have my phone in like another week or so because I found some other places that will get it fixed. But yeah, right now I'm phoneless, which means that I am on hold with a lot of content and resources that I'm trying to produce to give you guys. But that's okay. I'm at least able to focus on other things. So, blessing in disguise. It's been quite a journey. I've quite honestly learned this whole place in Poland like the back of my hand because every time I leave the house, I have to study the map of where I'm going and how to get back to make sure that I don't get lost. So I just, you know what? My navigation skills have become amazing. My intuition has become amazing. It's been kind of nice because I never know what time it is anymore. So I'm never in a rush. I'm just kinda doing my thing until I feel like it. Waking up when the sun rises, going to sleep when the sun sets, and then eating whenever, not on a schedule. If I'm in town and I really, really need to know the time, I will stop someone and ask them, which is so old school and kind of interesting and kind of funny at the same time. But you know what? I'm embracing it. It's making me very, very present with my family here, which I'm very grateful for. Yeah, those were updates. Yeah, the website is up. I'm on hold with producing a lot. If you have messaged me and I have not responded, it's probably because I just don't have access to either text messages or whatever social media you are messaging me on, but I will get back to you as soon as I have my phone back. All right, should we get into cortisol now? So, cortisol, oh my goodness, this word has been buzzing for the last couple years, and it's so interesting to, hear what people think of cortisol. And a lot of people think of cortisol as just equating to stress, which is true. Like it is a hormone that is released at times of stress, but that's not all that it is. And this hormone does so much more for us. It's a hormone that's released by our adrenal glands, and those adrenal glands are located above our kidneys. And this hormone, it regulates our energy, our blood sugar, our inflammation, blood pressure, immune system, metabolism, alertness, and yes, our stress response. But let's remember that stress, it can be bad, it can be good, so it can be beneficial or harmful for us. But regardless, it is essential for us to have stress and for us to have cortisol. I mean, think about it. When we work out, when we exercise, that's stress on our body. But that's good stress. It makes us more resilient. It helps us grow muscle, right? But then we have a little bit more harmful stress, such as like when you're stressed out at work because your boss is yelling at you. That's kind of your body thinks that a tiger is chasing it. So that's a little harmful. We don't always want to have that kind of stress in our life. But regardless, like I said, it is essential because cortisol is what wakes us up. It's what gives us energy. It's what keeps us alert. And having a healthy cortisol pattern allows us to have more energy and natural energy, not just from caffeine. It allows us to regulate our blood sugar levels so our bodies aren't constantly having blood spikes, right? And then quick drops in blood sugar. It allows us to regulate our inflammation so that our bodies aren't too inflamed. And why don't we want that? Because inflammation is what causes diseases. Um, Healthy cortisol patterns can also regulate our blood pressure, like I said, and immune system. If you're constantly getting sick and you're doing everything right, it could be because you have an unhealthy cortisol pattern. Or what about if you're eating really well, exercising really well, but you still have fat on your body, like stubborn fat, or you just, regardless, like maybe it's not just stubborn fat, but you really need to lose weight and you don't know what else you could be doing. It could be because you have an unhealthy cortisol pattern. Um, so a lot of people talk about when they talk about cortisol, they talk about balancing your cortisol levels. Now, a lot of people think that balancing your cortisol levels means that you have consistent cortisol levels throughout the entire day. And that is quite opposite of what we want to be doing. We do not want that. That is actually the worst thing to have because a lot of studies have shown that having consistent cortisol levels throughout the day, meaning that they are always the same level of cortisol, it doesn't spike up or go down, that kind of cortisol pattern has been proven to lead to more cardiovascular related deaths in the future. So we want to be avoiding that pattern. We want to have those spikes and those drops in cortisol. Of course, we don't want them to be extremely big spikes with extremely low drops in cortisol. And we want those spikes to be at certain times of the day, right? So like I said earlier, cortisol is essential for us to be woken up, for us to be alert, for us to have energy. So when do we need that most in the day? We need that most in the day in the morning, right? So that means our cortisol levels should be higher in the morning and it should follow our normal circadian rhythm. Our normal circadian rhythm is for our cortisol levels to rise about 30 minutes after waking and then for them to get lower, lower throughout the day, with the lowest being at night. And if we think about it, again, as cortisol being a hormone that keeps us awake, alert, gives us energy, it makes sense. We don't need a lot of cortisol at night because we don't need energy at night. We don't need to be alert at night. We need to actually have less energy at night so we can fall asleep. And if our cortisol pattern is switched where it's low in the morning and then high at night, that's where we have that trouble sleeping where we're tossing and turning, we can't fall asleep, or maybe we fall asleep, but then we wake up in the middle of the night and then can't go back to sleep, or maybe we're just waking up multiple times a night. So we want to be avoiding that cortisol pattern. We want to have higher in the morning, lower at night, right? And this is especially important because we want to be sleeping well, and our mornings set us up for the evening. So if we are having that higher cortisol level in the morning and it drops throughout the day and it's lowest at night, we can sleep, and that means we can recover well. And that's because sleep and good quality sleep, I'm not just talking about quantity because quantity and quality are two different things. I truly believe that our health is shaped by the hundreds of small choices we make every single day. We often focus on nutrition and exercise, but the products we use, the air we breathe, and even the clothes we wear are all part of that picture. One thing that completely changed over the last few years is how I think about clothing. I used to shop based on style alone, but now I also pay attention to what my clothes are actually made of. Since our skin is our largest organ and our clothes are in contact with it all day, I try to choose brands that prioritize natural materials and transparency. That's why I love Allwear. They create thoughtfully made clothing using natural fibers and independently verified standards. If you've been wanting to build a healthier wardrobe without sacrificing comfort or style, you can use my code REALIGN to save 10% on your order. That's REALIGN to save 10% on your order. Y'all know how passionate I am about reducing unnecessary chemical exposures in my everyday life. That's why when it comes to cleaning products, skincare, body care, and even makeup, I try to choose products with thoughtfully selected ingredients whenever I can. One of my favorite brands is Attitude. Many of their products are EWG verified, which means they meet the Environmental Working Group standards for ingredient transparency and formulation. If you've been wanting to make some cleaner swaps, I highly recommend checking them out. You can use my code 10 the holistic health engineer to save 10% on your order. That's 10 the holistic health engineer to save 10% on your order. It is essential to have good quality sleep. And when our cortisol patterns are balanced, it allows us to sleep well. It allows us to have that quality sleep where we are recovering, which is central because that is when our body is rebuilding itself and where we're really recovering, right? And that is so, so, so essential to our health. Now, you might be asking, what do I do to have this healthy cortisol pattern? Higher in the morning, lowest at night. And there are a lot of practices that you can incorporate into your daily life for, better functioning, better sleep, less inflammation, better metabolism, better immunity, and more energy, and so many other things. But some of these would include getting sunlight like within 30 minutes of waking, obviously, like give and take here and there. It would be awesome for your circadian rhythm if you woke up, maybe brush your teeth a little bit so you're not a little stinky, but then went outside, went for a walk, went into the sunlight. That's going to really help you trigger a higher cortisol pattern in the morning with it dropping throughout the day. And then exercising or doing more high cognitive demanding tasks in the morning or earlier hours of the day rather than doing that in the evenings closer to bedtime. And then, of course, we want to be eliminating caffeine too close to bedtime. I would recommend about 10 hours before bedtime if you can, and eliminating blue light and any artificial light exposure before bedtime. So, those light so that light that's emitted from your laptops, your phones, your iPads, that kind of stuff, that light keeps you up. Also, the artificial light above you, those lamps that you have hanging from your ceiling are artificial lights. And we want to eliminate both of those things before bedtime. I would say minimum an hour before bedtime. Now, I know that can be hard sometimes. Like maybe you have to run to the grocery store. I don't know. Or maybe you are supposed to go to some kind of event or something. Obviously, you can't always control the circumstances, but you want to do it as much as possible, eliminating that kind of light. And if you can't eliminate it, you know, there are some glasses with a rent tint on the lens that helps eliminate that light. Now, some people think it looks kind of funky. I think quite honestly it looks kind of cool. If you buy some like ones with a cool shape, they add to your fit a little bit. And you know what? Who cares what other people think? Your health is your health. It's all about your quality of life. And if that's what's going to help you fall asleep in the evening and allow you to get good quality sleep where you're recovering, then who the hell cares what other people are saying about your red glasses, right? But you can buy those on Amazon. If you go on my Amazon storefront, you will see a couple that I have linked. You will see the ones that I have myself. I love them. I think they're also super stylish and cute. Quite honestly, I love wearing them. But yeah, you can wear those to help eliminate that blue light and artificial light before bedtime. And then another thing I would recommend for healthy cortisol pattern would be doing more calming activities or meditative activities before bed in order to help relax. For example, I love reading before bed. It helps me, you know, eliminate that artificial and blue light exposure before bedtime, but it also makes me tired. Now, I know some people are huge readers and they love fiction and all of that fun stuff, and they will stay up for hours because they want to know the next thing. So, if that's you, maybe I don't recommend that kind of book. Maybe find a boring book that will make you tired and sleepy because you're so bored. You're going to have to play around with things a little bit to see what helps you relax that isn't artificial light, isn't blue light, that isn't stimulating you and that will help you sleep. I do have some other protocols and practices that I outline in my cortisol book. If you are interested in that, I would send you to my website. You can find the book there. You can find the book on my Amazon storefront. You can find it in so many links in my bios. I'll probably link it in the episode notes as well. But those are just a couple of the practices that I recommend that would make a huge difference in your life and have made a huge difference in my life and regulating my cortisol and helping me just feel more energized and healthy and upbeat, and has just lowered my cortisol in general and has just made the healthy habits a little bit easier, a lot easier, I would say, actually. So yeah, that's it for now. Keep an eye out for more articles coming out on my website. You can follow me on my Instagram at the Holistic Health Engineer. YouTube is the Holistic Health Engineer. I hope to see you in the next episode. Bye for now.